Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the vodcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. How are we today, Steve? We getting any sun there?
Hi Ben, I'm doing very well. I feel like I've got a lot of sun today and a lot of sun over the weekend. A lot of sun over this summer too, but I'm feeling great because of it.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of hot days in Melbourne here recently. Definitely been getting my fair share of vitamin D as well. But before we get into that, don't forget our website, www.fistchat.com. You can get all our links there. You can subscribe to our audio via iTunes, RSS and FeedBurner. You can watch this episode and all of our back episodes on YouTube, Vimeo and Digicosm TV. You can interact with us on Twitter, Google+, and Facebook. Love to hear from you. And, of course, we've got our supplementary content, the weekly blogs, photography on Instagram and Flickr. And we mentioned at the beginning of the year that we'd have an ebook ready for publication on stores like Amazon, etc., featuring all of our blogs from 2011 and 2012. We're very, very close now to having that go live, so it's a very exciting time. It's good to see all of that writing all in the one spot.
It is, and it's great. Hopefully, FiST Chat fans, it'll be a way to keep track of what we did last year, and we'll do another one this year.
Absolutely. So we'll keep you posted once that goes live, and it's like I said, it's a great place to have all of our writing in one place and also be supporting us, which would be eternally grateful for. Okay, so we'll move on to today's topic, your health in the sun, and probably a good place to start was the poll that we ran on Friday. Does too much time in the sun tire you out? And we had 78% say yes and 22% say no. I just realised, though, after seeing the wording of that question, that we're not factoring in the heat associated with the sun, which is probably what is actually tiring you out. Would you agree with that, you think?
Oh, I think so. I think those 22% that find they don't get tired out in the sun, Ben, like to lie there on a nice mild day, catch some rays and enjoy the scenery. I think anyone who's been out in the heat and actually done any physical exertion feels it. But I do think that for all of us that have spent any time out there in heat and sunshine, that's what really makes it very hard work for the body.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if we move on, we've got an article here from the Daily Mail in the UK, staying out of the sun can wreck your health. And this is probably sort of shifting a tack a bit from our tired out sort of point of view that we were just speaking about then. This was done in the UK. Around 90% of our vitamin D is made in the skin with the help of sunlight, and this converts the cholesterol found in every cell in the body into vitamin D. Now, obviously in Britain, this is probably especially relevant because of their sort of lack of sunlight, especially during the winter months. And I'm guessing they would have a fairly big problem with generating vitamin D. Would that be right?
Oh, yeah. Certainly in very high latitudes, it becomes harder and harder to generate vitamin D, and you need more and more sun exposure. And historically, particularly in industrial Britain, in the olden days, when children used to work, all day from dawn to dusk, or even now in some cases where they're in schools and they're not getting enough sunlight, you can actually have bone and muscle like problems without enough vitamin D. Very interesting, though, that the human body requires sunlight to synthesize vitamin D.
Yeah.
However, too much sunlight breaks down folic acid, which is vitamin B9, and very important for apparently for our mental health, but also for women pregnant women, proper birth formation. So too much time in the sun, too much breakdown of folic acid can actually cause birth defects.
So is there a right amount of time to spend in the sun then?
Well, it's interesting. There is, and it's different for everyone because it depends on your genetic makeup. Yeah. So our darker-skinned ancestors who basically originated in Africa had dark skin, and that dark skin was there effectively because they were getting plenty of UV, plenty of vitamin D production, but that was there to protect them from folic acid being broken down, which would have affected our ability to reproduce. As humans move further north, where obviously the days are shorter and not so bright, they develop fairer skin to let more UV in. So, and that was to always get a balance between vitamin D production and having the right folate levels for reproduction.
Mm-hmm.
But they do reckon that really we should get about, on average, every day 15 minutes of sunlight if you can.
Which is really not much at all, really.
It's not. In summer, in fact, it's right on the point of burning in Australia. You know, other places it's different. So, you know, basically 15 minutes of sun, and they have shown anyway that people who tend to work out in the sun and get more sun exposure generally tend to have less chance of developing skin cancer. So you've got to be very careful. If you use a lot of sunscreen and cover up, you've got to make sure you get out there for enough sun, just generally on the skin. Don't burn, but don't spend too much time out there. Just get that right amount. And it differs for everyone. Your doctor can actually recommend for your skin type and your nutritional status what would work for you. Yeah, it's fascinating.
And just finally, just picking up one point that I think was sort of suggested there in the middle, with this idea of I think there's also a psychological aspect to it as well. Yeah. This recommendation, I know, as if you're working in an office, for example, where you're in front of a computer in a cubicle, and if you're really unlucky, you don't have any windows.
Must have been a bad boy then.
Oh, I've got windows, so that's okay. So working in an office, you know, it's quite easy not to go outside or do anything because you could just quite feasibly be stuck in there anywhere from 8 to 12 to 15 hours if you're unlucky. And that's one of the things I recommend, you know, go outside on your lunch break. And not only that, go for a walk out in the sun, and it's just having the sun hit your skin, hit your eyes. It can have that psychological effect as well.
Absolutely, and especially in winter, a bit of sunlight, that's exactly the sort of thing. If you've got a little bit of somebody sneeze on you, a little bit of UV radiation can be enough to kill that cold or flu virus. It is well worth getting out in the outdoors whenever you can. You know, you do have to be mindful, but you know, it's amazing. We live in such a modern world, but we forget the very basics of life, and the sun is the basis for all life on Earth. So it's good to go out there and get a bit of sun on you.
Absolutely. Alrighty, we'll move on to our film news bites now, and this first one is sort of health related as well, but it's more of a film recommendation, and that's the film Run Fatboy Run from 2007. Directed by David Schwimmer of all people. I was a bit dubious when I saw his name on there, but it turned out he turned out a decent film with this.
Very good.
And it's quite funny, starring Simon Pegg. I
like Simon Pegg.
Yeah, he does a really good job in this. He's quite funny and plays the sort of like that down in the dumps guy pretty well.
I've actually seen this film now. Now I remember. Yeah, it's a good film.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it gives you the an inspiration for starting to run, especially with this guy who is trying to win back his girlfriend in true Hollywood tradition.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? It's actually a very funny film. Simon Pegg's a great actor.
Absolutely. And incidentally, I believe we mentioned Paul in one of our past episodes, and he was in that as well and responsible for that. So his kind of comedy is actually is not too bad at all.
Well, if we got room for one more quick film bite there, then seeing as we're on the topic of Sunshine by Danny Boyle.
Oh, of course, yeah.
2009, 2010. It's a little bit crazy, but that's a good film about getting a little bit of sunshine on you.
Well, as a film, it's very effective, isn't it? I mean, considering
it's a little bit wacko.
Yeah, the science is dubious, but it's very entertaining, and I think for the budget that they had, it wasn't as big as your standard sort of Hollywood fare. It was a lot lower, but it definitely looks amazing as well.
It definitely was good.
All right, we'll move on to our science news bite now, and this one was quite amusing, I thought, from Discovery News. Brain scans can predict your political ideology. Whether you pulled the lever for Obama or Romney may reflect how your brain copes with risk, new research finds. Study which examined the brain activity of 35 men and 47 women registered as either Democrat or Republican found no difference in the amount of risk people of each political persuasion were willing to take on during a gambling game, but the way the brain process risk work differently between the groups, and Republicans showed more activity in an area linked with reward, fear, and risky decisions, and Democrats showing more activity in a spot relating to processing emotion and internal body cues. Is this more just a bit of fun, you think?
It's actually interesting, isn't it? Because, I guess in Australia as well, with our parties, there's a sort of persona we associate with both parties, and maybe there's some basis in it. I think it's a little bit ridiculous, really, but, I don't know. Who knows? At least they've found some brain activity in conservative voters. Boom, boom.
Absolutely. All right, and our final news bite for today, our tech news bite. Now, I'll preface this by saying that I couldn't care less about an iWatch, but Apple patent filing points directly to iWatch concept with flexible touchscreen display. Now, the reason why I say I couldn't care less about it, an iWatch, is because you can just get an iPod Nano and put a wristband on it.
Yeah.
Now, to me, there's all these rumors flying around. The Apple television's another one, and what's Apple, going to come up with next? These people, I think, this is more like a broader discussion on why are all these pundits trying to look for Apple's next big thing? I mean, they gave us sort of like, the three big iOS devices in the iPod, iPhone, iPad, and it's like, what have they done for us lately? And I think it's a bit pushing it to expect that, I think.
I completely agree with you, Ben. I mean, if you read the Steve Jobs book, you'll see that all of those great Apple devices were invented with other technological breakthroughs, smaller drives, etc., etc. I think until the next technological breakthrough, I can't really see, anything more than the minor improvements we've spoken about. And what's with a smaller screen? Nobody's going to use it. And just had lunch with my nephew yesterday. All he was talking about was Google Glasses.
No, well, I mean, is this kind of like going towards that wearable technology type of thing? I mean, yeah, Google Glasses is interesting, but really, are you going to walk around with your glasses on all the time and have calls beaming in on your glasses? Or
I don't know. All I know is if I had an Apple iWatch, I don't want to have to use an Apple iPhone.
Yeah, that's fair enough too, I think. But
so I guess the screen will be from my elbow to my wrist.
Because by then there'll probably be a 6-inch screen or something.
That's right.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, we're out of time. So thanks again for the chat.
Thanks, Ben. FiST Chat fans, tweet us, Facebook us, tell us about your experience in the sunshine. Get out there. Instagram us a photo if you've got a nice one of the sun.
Absolutely. All right, so that's it for this week's episode. So we'll catch you next week.